Okay, so I am here with Zero. Zero, introduce yourself.
Hello. If you're not familiar with me, I'm a competitive top player for Splatoon. Let's see what else. I have the only 3000 XP in Splatoon 2. I've won multiple majors and Nintendo events. And yeah.
So basically, you're good at the game.
Yes.
Okay, I'll jump into the questions here since we got six of them. So, what do you think makes a clutch player clutch?
Okay. In my personal opinion, I feel like a clutch player is always just defined as someone who can basically just save the game for their team no matter what, depending on a set or just a single game. It's always the person who is capable of fighting out, for example, a 1v3 and winning and saving the objective win, or just helping with team fights and being able to support everyone no matter what. That's how I see it as a clutch player.
Okay, do you think this like clutch player would be a consistently clutch player or someone who just averages out to where they all like most of the time they make the clutch play happen?
From what I've seen, I feel like it's most of the time. Like they should be known as the clutch player, where you can always rely on them to save the team. But obviously, in a competitive, you know, environment, you always want to be that person to save yourself and always be independent as a player. But when desperate times come and it's in a do or die situation, like having someone who's always ready to clutch or be able to save the game is so crucial.
Hmm.
But I will say that, especially in this game, it's not a high percentage of players where you can normally do that, considering the weapon pools and just how the game is played. It varies from what you do and how the game goes on. But most of the time, there are clutch scenarios and players who will take that spot to be a considered quote unquote clutch player.
Okay, so we're talking about clutch players, which is the whole point of this video. Um, what do you do slash have done to make yourself one of the most clutch Western players?
I think it's more of just my playstyle because it involves a lot of risk and reward. Because, for example, the way I play is just full on running it down aggro. And that's always been the way I play because I know my mechanics are very high. And basically, when in these do or die situations, wanting to clutch and make sure we secure the win is something valuable. And being able to solidify a win like that because I do something, for example, flanking and getting 2 to 3 picks, or just clutching out a 1v3 in order to recap zone or take tower, or even just scoring the last like clam on like the point 0.1 per like second meter and you just get it in, things like that. Those are immediate clutches, and then deciding to my team that, hey, I'm gonna run it down, just paint zone or just stay alive. Let me take the fight only and basically clutch out for my team. That's just what I've done and have seen work as a
Hmm.
frontline and as a clutch player, I guess. But overall, it also just comes from experience and knowing what to do in these do or die situations and not just panicking as well. It does take a lot of experience and a lot of understanding of the game and knowing when to take these positions of risk and reward and just be ready to make these clutch plays happen or just fail horribly.
That you know what? That's valid. I'm gonna skip ahead a couple questions just since we're kind of on the topic.
That's fine.
How much game knowledge do you know, or do you think? Sorry, restarting. How much game knowledge do you know, and do you think it helped your muscle memory and mechanics?
Um, I think I have a very good insight of the game, especially now from taking a step back, like from a bigger spectator perspective and just coaching and helping out other teams and watching how other teams play. It's very different from when you're in the moment. So you kind of understand a lot of things more. And as you play tournaments, win tournaments, and lose constant tournaments, it does help you understand why you lost, how you lost, what can you do to improve. And I feel like it does help certain scenarios with muscle memory and mechanics because I'll give an example of just if you're running it down and trying to take a fight, and you know that one's behind you, your immediate thought process should be, I'm gonna get a kill in front of me, and I immediately have to turn around. So that kind of builds a muscle memory, and builds your mechanics to both not only flick and be ready to fight behind you, but just to constantly be aware of everything and kind of be prepped no matter what's gonna happen, and to just go back and forth in every scenario, or be prepared for every scenario in every fight. That's the
Okay.
best way I see it.
Okay. So I'm gonna, uh, on the topic of muscle memory, um, do you think there is a way to improve your muscle memory, and if so, how?
Okay, I definitely think there is a way to build your muscle memory, and it does just come from consistently grinding the game and playing, because everything just becomes rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Like, you're getting a crab, your mind just has to think automatically, get on a higher elevation. Um, you're playing Zuka, and you have to know how to position yourself. There's inkjet, like you have to be ready for certain movement things. Like I do think that muscle memory can be built on certain aspects, and just coming from a lot of constant grinding and playing the game, but it does take time for that to happen, and you have to be able to be in those scenarios, especially in like tournaments where you kind of don't have time to practice it, and you kind of just have to make it happen, where you understand where it happens, and you have to constantly replicate it from there. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that you mentioned there is like making sure you can do it under pressure as well in like these scrims and tournaments and stuff. And is it like when you think of like big situations where you need to clutch up like a game 7 or like a very important set of a tournament, do you think that that mental weighs more heavily than if it would be just, for example, in a scrim or Sendoku set?
Yes, I feel like in a tournament it's very different, because your nerves are gonna get to you, and if you're not used to playing with nerves like that, or in those do or die situations, you're not gonna play properly, and you're gonna panic. From a lot of experience of being top 2 or top 3 in tournaments, or on the verge of losing, and even like top 8, and then bouncing back, it does build your endurance to not let your nerves get to you, and understanding, all right, I need to know what's happening in the game and be aware of everything, and to figure out what to do. Like, I will be honest that there's times where even I panic, and because I do know that the way I play can lead to just immediate control of certain areas, or even just how I play. But overall, those can lead to bad plays, which are just me running it down at some points, and then it leads to a crumble for our team. So being able to reset and just take a second and think about what to do and how to play together and react is always good. But that's just how it's supposed to be, no matter what. Like, even like, I know a lot of players who are upcoming and are just playing overall, and they're getting better at the game. They're not as experienced as, for example, Kyo or Gray or Jared, Q, Brand. Like, they're all experienced, and they know how to reset instantly and keep their mental up, even if they lose a game or are down 0-2, and then they know how to bounce back and clutch those specific scenarios. But these new players who don't have that kind of experience will not understand certain things immediately. But obviously, playing more and getting into these situations will lead them to understand it, because they have to be in that moment of, hey, I gotta do this now or we're gonna lose, and there's no going back, basically.
I have one more question that's off the script here.
Oh,
We were talking about playstyles and how your playstyle is very good for clutching up, but do you think the playstyle matters that much when it comes to clutching up in a certain situation?
I think it varies. I feel like depending on your play style, I know frontline is the basic run it down, create space and take control of certain areas on the map, and just obviously kill for your team and be able to, consistently frag. But I do feel like if you're a player who focuses on mechs and knows how to enable themselves fully on their team, and their team also knows how to enable them. For example, like Volty. Like Volty is, she's like one of the best Carbon players ever, right?
Mhm.
And being able to enable Volty, you want to be able to help her get in and either trade or get her out. So you have to understand how these players go around and play, and in those do or die situations, she needs to be able to have her mechs on point and to be able to move perfectly. Like
Mhm.
everything has to be perfect to where she has to get her kills, she has to Zuka properly, she has to sneak around and do things where she enables her team to actually move up or control things because of the presence she holds or the kills that she gets. So it does vary on what you're doing, but I also feel like mechanics themselves also have a huge play in it because if you don't have the mechs to take down players by yourself as like a 1v2, or clutch up in those situations where you normally don't fight a 1v2 or 1v3, and the moment you do, you win, that's so crucial for your team and it allows to change like a huge tide in the game.
Mhm. Oh, I agree. It's funny you mentioned Volti because in my script, this is not in the interview, but in my script, I put like, how do you become one of the best clutch players like Zero and Volti? I just find it so funny you brought up Volti. The two people I brought up of being clutch players, I brought up in this interview. It's great.
That's so funny. I honestly just brought up Volty because I feel like when it comes to certain players, there is a specific amount that know or have to play that way where they need to clutch because they cannot just play normally.
Hmm.
Like another good example is Goss. I feel like
Oh yeah.
Goss is such a strong individual player mechanically that when it comes to clutch or do or die situations, he knows how to handle himself and he knows how to get in and out. And if he can't get out, he will take one player with him. And
Hmm.
I feel like for myself as well, my mindset has always been I want my mechanics to be perfect no matter what. I'm very hard on myself when it comes to my own mechanical skill and decision making and everything. I always want everything to be perfect. And I feel like no matter what I do, I have to constantly build that and grind and push my limits no matter what so that I can be a better version or a better player no matter what I do so that it allows me to be able to clutch whenever I need to and to also excel in game no matter what. Because I feel like being able to clutch always and hold your own is so crucial,
It
especially as a
is.
frontline. Yeah.
It definitely is, and like you mentioned, you're not able to do it like every single time, and I think that's more so of a human thing compared to a not being good at the game thing. It's like you can't clutch every single time. Like it's classified as a clutch play for a reason, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to like your mentality and stuff as well. And like you said, like your mentality of wanting to get better, wanting to improve is a very good mentality. Unless you get burnt out, then in that situation, that's where the experience varies, right? Like you know how to go
Yeah.
so far to where you don't get so burnt out compared to other
Yep.
people, like maybe I'll just say me for an example, where you push so far but you also get burnt out. So what do you
Yeah.
think that balance, like where does that balance lie? Like where's the line draw there?
I think it also does come from experience of playing tournaments for 8 hours because there are times where I've played like for example in the zone like in the zone 16 was probably like
Oh my
legit
god.
6 7 hours on oh my god I said the joke oh my god 6 7 okay I did not mean to do that but yeah playing like in the zone for almost 7 hours 8 hours it just leads to being burned out but
Hmm.
wanting to win and forcing yourself to just push no matter what, it will lead you to gain more experience on that and how to maintain that. Like I feel like it's hard to do at first because you're not used to it, but the more you get used to that, you're kind of just in the zone of it and you're just locked where you want to be able to push no matter what. And for example, if you just cannot keep fighting, you want to think of what better ways to play. Like for example, I think it was a tournament the Clan Blitz mode cup.
Oh yeah.
I was doing so bad and I felt like I was so burned. I don't know why. Like I just couldn't do good. Like I wasn't fragging like I normally do. I wasn't dropping 15 plus kills a game. I was dropping like 10 like 12 KDs or even less. But I was telling my team like I would call what to do. I would tell them, hey, I'm not fragging, but I will clutch the game. Like I will make sure that no matter what, if I'm doing bad and I'm not getting kills or doing anything, in the final situation where if we have the lead, I'll make sure that I call what to do properly so that we can win, or I will just literally run it down and get the kills to make sure we win. Like it's back and forth, and that's how I kind of feel like the balance. That's where the balance goes. I feel like no matter what you do, if you cannot truly do one thing properly, I feel like you make sure someone else, and if someone else is doing it on your team already, play a different type of style to either enable them or you do something different for yourself. You know what I mean? So if I'm not playing properly and running it down first, I might as well play secondary front and help whoever's going in, call for them to go in, when to go in, and make whatever call that needs to be done so that we can be better placed on the map or secured for certain leads and just things like that.
And I think the important thing there you mentioned is like, you said, I will clutch. Even though I'm not doing good today, I will clutch up. And I think that's a very good mental point of making sure, like, your mentality is still up. Even though you're, like, not dropping your 15 kills, you're not dropping your 20 kills, you know for sure you're that clutch player. You will get that clutch. And I think that's a very important, like, mental step of knowing you can be that clutch player, that person to step up.
I agree. I feel like I feel not being a person. I feel like having your mental always be up no matter what and not letting it crumble even after a loss or even after a tournament loss. Like I'm not saying you shouldn't be upset or be frustrated. That's normal. We're all human. I just think that no matter what, you shouldn't see it as I'm losing and everything's bad. I feel like no matter what you do, if you lose, you need to see it as what can I learn from this and how can I improve? Or what did I do wrong? What was I doing wrong that made us lose? Was it me entirely? Was it us as a whole? Like obviously it's a team game, but as a player, an individual player who focuses very hard on mechs, I feel like it comes eventually to it's my fault no matter what, and I want to make sure that I'm playing perfect. So I want to look for my faults, nitpick at everything, get rid of any like bad, constant errors that are just happening, and just tunnel visioning on certain things. Like, how do I break that? How do I make sure my mental's up no matter what? How am I not changing how I play and things like that? Always.
And one of the points I talk about in my video is tunnel visioning. It's not tunnel visioning where it comes to the mentality, but more so it's coming from the gameplay perspective of being so locked in on like getting a certain kill to where you lose peripheral vision or lose your muscle memory to where that person, like we mentioned before, where you run forward and kill one person and not turn around, that would be tunnel visioning. Do you think tunnel visioning mental wise could translate to gameplay wise or vice versa?
Yes, I think 100% it can just go both ways because you're so focused on that one specific thing that no matter what you do, you're just doing that over and over. For example, jumping in because you're so worried about losing that your mind is thinking that I have to jump in, otherwise we're gonna lose, and you just die like 3-4 times for no reason. Like that happens so many times, and it's good to be aware because let's say you die even twice. If you die twice and jump in, and it's just a wasteful death. Like I will see that myself, and I will say to myself, "All right, I need to stop jumping," or I'll tell my team, "All right, my bad. I'm gonna stop jumping." Or if you see someone else doing on the team, you tell them the same thing, and it just goes so on. Like you have to be aware of that on your own, and it's also good to spot it for other players as well. Because if you're on a team and you notice certain things or bad habits that are happening on the field, it's good to be aware of it and to spot it out and then tell your teammates, hey, stop jumping in. You're just dying for no reason. And it allows them to be aware of it, notice it, and then either A, fix it later on for future events and tournaments, or just in that moment, they stop jumping in and they focus on jumping in only when they need to and then fight and swim through and paint up for special and then so on. And it leads to a better game or instant KO. Like certain things like that just happen, and it's good to think of.
hmm And I'm gonna try and circle back to our main questions here because I think we got a little off topic, but it's good. I do really like this. Circling back, question number 3, even though this is like what the 10th question. What is your mental prep before going into a session? Now, most people don't think they have a mental prep, but in their subconscious, they have one. Do you have one subconsciously, or are you consciously making one? And what is
I'm
it?
consciously making one. Mine automatically is just I'm better and
Hmm.
that I know I can win. And I feel like that should be for everybody no matter what. But it's a lot different for me now considering I've won events, I've won majors, I've won tournaments, championships. So I sit here and I say to myself, no matter what, for example, if I'm playing the NA League that's coming up, if I were to play that and I'm with a group, my first thought is going to be, we can win, and I know we can. We just need to do
Hmm.
things right, and I have to be on point. And no matter what, my mindset is going to be, I know I can win, and I will win. Even if I lose, my mindset's still going to stay the same because I need to win, and thinking any different is just going to affect me and make me play worse. And I feel like that goes for a lot of people. The moment they think they're not going to win or they're on the verge of losing and they start getting scared about it, their mental changes and they start playing different. They don't play as confident and they don't play the way they should. So it leads to players not playing in their peak performance.
Hmm.
That's the best way I see it. But I always feel like no matter what, everyone has a mental like prep. And I feel like it might be different in certain ways, but everyone should be thinking the same of I'm going to win.
Hmm. Do you do like any breathing exercises or like have water? Like, do you do anything like physically, or is it just all mentally?
It's all mental. I do always have a water bottle with me because I feel like staying hydrated is important. Um, if it's in game, I feel like if everything's going crazy and it's total chaos, I do take a deep breath and I just say, "All right, reset to everyone." I start trying to call what we can do if I'm leading. If not, then usually someone else will be doing that and they will be taking initiative. But honestly, I don't really do anything else. I don't like get prepped. I think the only time I've ever like sat there and said, I'm gonna lock in was LTC, and I went on the side and started doing push-ups, and we lost to Moonlight. And then I don't know what happened after that. I just was on a streak of just hitting all my shots.
Really? So
But
you started. Okay, I was gonna make a complete opposite point there. So after you doing push-ups, you started like locking in, like you were doing everything right. Like, is that true?
I guess so. I mean, like, I don't want to say that's the main thing that led us to victory. I do think, like us not getting up and taking a break was good. We sat down and talked about what we wanted to do, what was going on, and how we should fix it, and then go next,
Hmm.
and not stress about losing. Focus on winning this, and it's 0-0. Like that's the best way we thought about it with Starburst. So I feel like I feel like doing push-ups just had me warmed up and had my adrenaline up. That was like the only thing because I felt like no matter what, we have to be locked in, and I want to win, and I don't want to be like I don't want to be stiff. So I feel like
Hmm.
stretching and shaking my hands, or just I guess doing those push-ups are like one way to do it. But in general, I normally don't. I think I just was so focused and locked in on the major, I didn't want to lose, and
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure we won.
So this, did you do it to the point where you got physically exhausted?
No, I did like what 10 push-ups, 15 push-ups.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Never mind.
yeah.
Okay,
I just
so
it was just like if that was like my break, like how Moonlight got up and took a break and a stretch, that was like my break. That was just
mhm.
got up, got away from the game for a second, did a push up, and then just yeah,
Okay.
that's basically what it was.
Okay, because one of my points I made in a previous video, a lot of my videos so far have been mentally, because a lot of people like forget about that aspect when it comes to Splatoon and other esports in general. Um, don't be physically exhausted before you go into a set or anything like that. Have you ever had an experience where you're like very tired physically and like still hopped on the game anyway? Like, what did you do in that scenario if you did have one like that?
Um, I've never done that in a tournament, but I have done that in like scrims and like probably sendo queue. But those are like minor things, so I wouldn't consider that as like bad because I would just play to get on, and then I would do fine. But I know I'm tired, so I wouldn't be hitting specific shots or like do certain things. So I would say like, all right, I should not be doing this ever again. Like even when I'm sick, like there'd be
Mhm.
times like I remember in Splatoon 2 where I played in a tournament and I was sick, but I did not want to lose that tournament, so I was still locked in. And I was hitting everything. It's just getting through it. and then after I'm done, then I can rest and do whatever. But I do think if it's ever like a big tournament and you're already tired, I feel like you should just take a second and relax, and then like obviously hydrate yourself, and then
Hmm.
go in. Like going immediately obviously is probably gonna be dreadful if you're
Yeah.
already like immediately exhausted, but I wouldn't recommend it obviously.
Okay. Yeah. Like you said, it's more so like don't recommend it. Don't do it. Because it's not really a good thing. I basically have nothing left for you. Do you have any other tips that we didn't cover? Which is probably hard to, say, because we've been at this for 25 minutes. But do you have any
Um,
tips?
for honestly, for the game, I feel like no matter what you do, I feel like you should master what you want to play, understand the game more, learn more, play in anything you can. I feel like no matter what you win or lose, always never degrade your wins. Always look at what could have went wrong and how you can never let those come close to happening. When you lose, I feel like you should always look at those as opportunities to grow, because if you take those losses and just get upset and then give up, I feel like no matter what, you're just not going to improve as a player. I feel like every single loss leads to a win, and you want to just be able to grow off that and learn why you lost, how you lost, what you can do to prevent them or build on that, and then continue to push from there, and then just not giving up. Honestly, that's always been my mental, where no matter what I do, if I lose over and over and over again, I need to keep pushing because I want to win, and just keeping your drive up no matter what. I just feel like that's the best thing for this game. And just take time. There's always gonna be time. There's always gonna be events. There's always gonna be opportunities to do things. It just takes time, and always waiting for the right moment will happen. Like everything will happen when it needs to. Just don't rush into things and take it slow and understand what to do for the game and how you want to play. That's the best I can give.
Honestly, it's really, really good advice. But I do have one more question. I did think of it before I asked the sixth and final one. Well, quote unquote
Oh
sixth.
yeah.
Um, so we talked about having the mentality of you're going to win. Have you ever had the mentality where you got overconfident and then you started going for stuff that you honestly shouldn't have, or seen later that you shouldn't have done?
Yeah, that's happened way too many times. But um I think in tournament wise, when that has happened to me, I feel like no matter what I've done, I feel like it's just become, all right, I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it, so my bad. But if it leads to like, if it leads to us losing lead, then I immediately stop and focus.
Hmm.
But if it's just we're in their spawn doing whatever and just spawn camping in
Yeah.
a tournament and it's in like, top 5, I feel like at that point, it's just forcing dominance, I feel.
Hmm.
Like not necessarily just, all right, I'm gonna spawn camp because I'm doing whatever. No, it's I'm taking more of this space and holding it down because I'm proving that I can win, and I'm not gonna let you get out no matter what. And just to basically not like truly disrespect them, but to
Hmm.
make sure they like it asserts dominance and actually leads to holding a bigger presence on the field, because the bigger presence you have, the harder it is for players to be around you, and it leads to them being more playing different, being more scared in game, and it allows that to um, give you advantages in game and against other players. I feel like
Hmm.
having a presence and being able to stand on your own a lot and holding down opponents leads to you being able to do a lot more by yourself in
Hmm.
tournaments.
Yeah, and of course. And we did talk about like having your like presence known and like think you're the best and this, that, and the other thing. But I feel like there is a fine line between it being your mentality compared to you boasting about it, right? I think the
Yeah.
big difference is basically don't be a dick.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
like
I feel like
keep it in the
it all
game.
stays in game. Exactly. It all stays in game, and if it does like lead to us just chanting or like yelling, I feel like that's just in the moment,
Hmm.
and a lot of the time it's never that deep or personal outside of the game. I feel like no matter what, it will always be in the game, and outside of that, it just leads to, you know, unnecessary beef.
Hmm.
But I highly doubt that would happen.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be surprised. That's been happening over the community for a while now.
Yeah.
Especially the lower levels, like mid-level and high level, but yeah. Um, well, I think that wraps up my questions. I think you got all your final thoughts in, unless you got something else.
I think I'm good. Yeah, it was great. It was great to say everything and speak on it. So,
Okay, perfect. Do you want to shout anything out, of course?
um,
Socials?
no, it wasn't really much. I guess I'm good right now. Honestly, I'm not gonna hunt for followers. But...
Okay, okay. Okay. You're not hunter following, follow
yeah,
hunting? Damn.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna end the recording then.